Hi. Wait. Oh, you're muted.
Hi,
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good.
Friday.
Oh my goodness. It's been good, but busy. Yeah. Virtual learning is definitely different when you're trying to do a performing arts
Mhm.
based subject or content area.
Yes. So
So,
you are music?
dance.
Ah, yes.
Yeah, so I think one of the some of them are really sweet and it's been good, but I'm having an issue with kids turning on their cameras. They're not turning them on.
Mhm.
So it's like, and then like later on when I'm checking in, just checking for understanding, checking to see that, they're how they're doing, and I'll call someone's name and I don't hear anything. And I'm
Right.
like, are you there? So,
Yeah. We, in fact, today are working with our legal office on performing arts exemption because for the most part, for most teachers are okay with part of their class not, being visible. And then there are kids, domestic issues, et cetera, et cetera. But for us, it's safety. If you have a child that's supposed to be practicing some kind of jump and they land incorrectly or their posture isn't correct to start with, who's liable for that? Right?
that is such a good question.
So because we brought that up, we're being allowed to write an exemption, if you will, for the performing arts. But if someone needs to opt out of camera and microphone on a case-by-case basis, so they don't have to share the particulars, like I said, domestic abuse or something like that. But then there are some alternative things. They have to submit a Flipgrid or submit something in Screencastify or submit something to Google Classroom that the teacher sets up separately, and it's for every assignment. So it's none of this, sign into the class, turn off the camera, and then go play video games. So it's more work for the teachers, but there's also more accountability now for our performing arts students. So
Okay.
yeah.
That sounds good.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. So, like I said, I'm taking a curriculum development and implementation class at
Mhm.
Gosher. Um, and so for this assignment, I did, you know what, did you respond to I don't
I
remember if
didn't
you,
know if you wanted me to respond to them in writing or we were going to just talk about them, because I can
uh,
do either one.
um, with your permission, I wanted to record this.
Okay.
But if you want to respond, if you could respond, that would be, I guess, easier to kind of
In Zoom, they were talking about adding a, I know they added,
like a scribe where you can write.
yeah, I thought
I
maybe
don't,
I have
I'm not
record,
seeing
I have
that.
share screen, and because that would have video settings. No, that would be audio settings. Same systems as in a speaker. The computer. I don't see it. Shucks.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that would have saved you so much work if I had typed them, but I wasn't sure. So I did read through them and I was like, oh, these are good questions. So
Well, I was supposed to come up with at least three of them. So I came up with the last three, but everything else was, my teacher. We're all asking the same questions.
oh, okay.
So I guess we could just dive in.
Okay.
So the first question is, what is your current position and what is your role with respect to curriculum planning, development, and or implementation for your school system?
Okay. I am the coordinating supervisor for creative arts programs, which is a fancy title for someone who has the privilege of supervising the supervisors of all the arts. So in a previous role, I was the vocal and general music supervisor. So in that role, I was responsible for all of the curriculum development for elementary through secondary vocal and general music instruction. But now that I supervise the supervisors of those contents, they are responsible for that work. But then when it's done or it's nearing completion, they share it with me through Google Docs or in some way. We have some dialogue about it, and then I kick it up to my boss. I have reviewed it, it's ready, to be moved forward. And then he reviews it, and then it gets posted on our curriculum site.
Okay. Wow. Okay. And are you with Prince George's, I think?
Georges County, yeah.
Okay. I'm at Elk. Okay. So it's weird. I am fairly new to Maryland. I live in Elkton,
Okay.
which is, but I work at Brooklyn Park, which is basically I'm about an hour away.
Yeah.
I work in Anne Arundel County Public Schools. So
our dance supervisor, Tamisha Richardson, is the former principal of Brooklyn Park.
Oh, okay.
And graduated from one of our creative and performing arts high schools, Suitland High School, and she's now back in Prince George's County.
Okay.
Principal there. Mm-hmm.
Nice. Okay. All right. So number 2, based upon your experiences as an educator, how would you describe the purpose of education in our society? And what do you feel are the major influences on what happens in the educational community? That's really a loaded question. So
I'm fine with it. I believe that the purpose has gotten lost in the sauce of life.
Yeah.
The purpose originally, and I think still should be, for people to be in a position to bring their skill sets and their gifts to this world, to pay it forward and give back. And it is our responsibility to mentor them through that, so that if they learn best through dance, there's no law that says they can't learn their math or their English or their social studies through dance. But there's also nothing wrong with being a dancer and learning the craft and honing the craft. So it's helping people to determine who they are, what they are gifted in, what their purpose is, and then help them find that path. Curriculum is the, I call it the railroad tracks that are supposed to help you get from here to there. And all of the things that happen along the way, all of the different cars, kindergarten class where you learn how to share, second grade class where you're learning how to do those sight words, and 8th grade where you're going to have your first opera experience and determine whether you like it or not. Those are just all the cars. But the kids are the engine, they're not the caboose. And that, I think, is the handicap. Now education has become a political ball, and whomever is in charge, we then move or change based on who's offering the money and what buzzword of the week they're using. And the children get lost in all of that. So so that's kind of a long-winded answer, but it has been something that I've thought about probably for the 40 odd years I've been teaching. 45. Actually.
Oh, wow.
This is my 45th first day of school.
Congratulations. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, there's a lot I had to think about with what you were saying. I need to meditate on that. I'm glad I can go back and listen to that.
Good.
Okay, so to what extent do you feel the curriculum of your school or school system is consistent with the vision, mission, and statement of your school or school system?
So we work in these great big bureaucracies. There are 24 counties in the state of Maryland, and MSDE says what has to be taught. Each county determines how that's done, and then each, whatever the leadership is of the time, determines what that looks like. So we went from, for example, when I first came into the county, the elementary general music curriculum guide was some 400 pages
Oh,
because
wow.
they wanted every lesson scripted. And, I'm like, okay, this is a doorstop. This is not a curriculum guide. This is not guiding me. This is open this and read what it says, right?
Right.
Leadership changed and they went kind of the other way, which was, oh, you just need to have a curriculum document that, reflects what students, you know, need to know and be able to do. How they get there is up to you. So then you have a subtext of, okay, if that's the case, then we want lesson seeds in every lesson, not a full lesson, but a lesson seed. And then we went to, no, as long as you have the standards all covered, that's good enough, and give them some resources, and then they figure it out. Now we're back, new leadership, back to, you need to go back to all of your curriculum documents and put yourself in the shoes of a first year teacher, and every lesson that you have needs to have lessons and resources. And so we've gone full circle, just, well, pendulum, all the way back. Well, not totally all the way back, because this new chief is okay with links and that kind of thing. But she has given us a couple of content area documents to look at that she now wants us to model ours after. And it's back to the, on October 15th, every third grader will be on page 31 in the math book.
Oh.
So I, being me, have drawn the line in the sand, and I said, I'm a person under authority, but I need to have a meeting with you as to why that's just not the best way to do arts
Yeah.
writing.
So is it just more about like the kids need to be at this place by this time, no matter what,
Pacing
as
guide.
opposed to this is where they're at, and this is what growth looks like for this kid. This is what growth looks like for this kid.
Right. That's exactly right. And maybe that's an easier thing to do when it's other content disciplines. I get the fact that if I was an elementary school teacher and I was a science was my favorite thing, then if left to my own devices, kids might have science for an hour and a half every day instead of math every day, because that's my strength and that's my level of comfort. So they want pacing guides that say at the end of the first quarter, every sixth grade dance student will be here.
Mm.
And the arts don't work that way, or at least that has not been my experience in the umpteen years of my life.
Right.
Now we can look at skill building, meaning by the end of first quarter of sixth grade, they have been exposed to these
Yeah.
particular skills. But if it's assessing proficiency, maybe, I'm not feeling that that's kind of what we want to do. So,
Yeah. I would agree with you on that.
yeah. So we will see. We will see. The answer will probably be recreate the documents in the vision of the person that's in charge, and when in doubt, teach the children.
Yeah. Yes. Can't go wrong with that.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so number 4.
Mhm.
Does your school system have policies, procedure? I think you kind of touched on some of this, but does your school system have policies, procedures, or guidelines related to curriculum development? What process does your office, school, or school system use to determine when new curriculum materials are to be developed or existing materials revised? And who actually writes curriculum for your school or school system?
Okay.
It's a lot of questions in there.
Yeah, a lot of questions in there. I'll start from the end. Each supervisor is responsible for pulling together their writing team. So the supervisors are very good at selecting people who not only are they're a compilation of very good practitioners, and then people who can write what they see and what they, so they create these teams, and based on the money we have in the budget, we try to update the curriculum. The plan is to not have a curriculum document that's more than 5 years old. And that's easier for some disciplines than others. Visual art had 66 separate curriculum documents because it's based on that time when everything had to be scripted. So there's a drawing and painting curriculum guide, and a watercolor curriculum guide,
Oh, wow.
and a graphic arts curriculum guide. So when Lisa inherited that 5 years ago, her goal was to move more toward the standards-based, but also looking at those essential skills that a visual artist needs to have. Has written some wonderful arts integration lessons and different things, and also in companionship with Anne Arundel County, they've been doing curriculum writing, and that's been working very well. What happens to it now? The answer to your question is we just got 3 weeks ago a new chief of academics who used to be our director of curriculum and instruction. Now, the way our county is set up, for whatever reason, all of us in the arts are under one person, and all of the other content areas, except for CTE and special ed and ESOL, were under the director of curriculum and instruction. So she's been giving them direction, her team, directions for how she wanted curriculum done for the last 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
We weren't privy to all of that because we weren't on her team. Now that she's moved up here, she's looking at our documents going, why are you doing this? And why are you doing that? Why? And this is the way it needs to be done.
Mm.
So that kind of, now she's not saying that they're bad, the documents. She's not saying that they're inappropriate. She's not saying that they haven't been, technology is incorporated and special needs strategies, as well as extensions for our gifted and talented, and activities for our ESA. All of that's in there. But because it's not written the way she has instructed everybody to write it, we have to go back and rewrite.
Oh. Wow. Okay. Wow. Hopefully, I'm just on. Wow. Okay.
It is what it is.
Yes.
I don't often say that, but
Yeah. Okay.
So I pulled out the SEL, and I told my team, I said, I've read all the documents, everyone you brought up that you've updated. So, and I've signed off on them. So I believe that they are well written and meet the needs of our students. That being said, new leadership means new ways of doing things. And so we're just going to have to, it's not roll with the punches. That's too much of a setup kind of thing. It's not really a punch. It's this is the way she wants it to be done. So we need to come up with a plan for how to do it.
Yeah.
And we can't think that, hold on one second. I just want to say hi to my sisters. Hi,
Okay.
sisters. Hi, sister. Bye. Bye. Are we walking later? Probably. Okay.
Okay.
I'm sorry. That's my younger sisters came to visit.
Oh, okay.
Where was I? Oh yeah. And that's not to say that if this lady is gone in 2 years that somebody else doesn't come along. So we're not talking, so we can't talk about changing the substance, because that's that's the meat.
Right.
Right now we're changing the plates. Okay, the meat and the potatoes and the vegetables and all that stuff is staying the same.
Yeah.
We're gonna take this off of this plate and put it on this kind of plate.
That's an interesting way of looking at it. And it doesn't make it seem like it's so overwhelming too.
Right.
Okay. So question number 5, how have state mandates or programs such as the Maryland's College and Career Ready State Standards influenced curriculum development, implementation, and assessment in your content area, school, or school system?
Well, it's an opportunity to look at and do things differently than ever before. I don't know if you know, but the Maryland State Department of Education tells us what needs to be done, but it is up to the LEA, the local education agency, each county, to determine how that gets done. So now there is this financial literacy that's coming along. There's the requirement to have some kind of certification by 2024 to graduate. There is the computational literacy requirement, and they aren't giving you more teachers. They're saying you have to figure out a way to make this happen. So we as a team looked at the computational literacy, for example, and if it's, the CTE requirement or the certification requirement. And if it's a matter of having a certification, we looked at where the crosswalks are. So in graphic design, which is a CTE program, they use Adobe Illustrator and Adobe Publisher, and they get certificates in it. They take an exam at the end of that class. Well, in computer graphics, the purpose of that course is different, but they're both using this same computer tool. So sometimes in computer graphics, to make that picture, they use what? Illustrator and Publisher. So now we're working with CTE to ensure that every student in graphic design and in visual arts and in media arts have access to the Adobe suite. And then our curriculum documents embed various apps out of Adobe in the document with a final assessment. Will provide the student with a certificate.
Okay. Wow, thank you. Ooh, all right. So number 6, what strategies are used to align or coordinate the written, taught, and tested curriculum for your content areas or school system? In other words, how do you make certain that what is written in the curriculum is taught in the classroom, and what is written and taught is what is tested? I know this is kind of different for the arts, but
yeah. When you are in a very small county, Wicomico County has 7 schools. You know, I'm exaggerating, but not many more than 7.
okay.
Right? Then you can get in every classroom and really see and monitor, right?
Mm-hmm.
We have more than 209 schools.
Wow.
And some are urban schools, some are suburban schools, some are rural schools. We have an elementary school that just got paved roads 5 years ago.
Oh, wow.
Up until then, it was gravel. And there are teachers in that building that remember when they put the gravel down and it was mud. Okay?
Wow.
Right? So, one supervisor can't monitor the instruction in 500 visual art classrooms. She can't. Math can't even do that, and they've got 35 people on their staff.
Right.
So what we try to do is we have the framework for teaching, which is our appraisal and evaluation tool that we use, and everybody's taking the courses. So first through third year teachers, they get several visits from either a supervisor or a mentor teacher or building administration, just several, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that and then we touch base with them regularly. Then between like 3 and 5 years, if a person has been struggling, then we put them in our teacher induction camp, which are a cadre of mentor teachers that go out and supervise. And for the first time in the last 2 years, we have arts mentor teachers at
Oh, nice.
central office level. Before, we were just paying classroom teachers, take a sub day and go, right? So we do it in as many different kinds of ways. A particular principal can request and say, I'm not sure that, or this teacher's struggling with classroom manager, but that's the usual one that gets us in the door. But we have some principals that are very good at wanting us to come in and say, yes, this teacher is providing, the rigorous instruction that we want. So it's a process, but it's also not the most efficient. But right now, given, I'm not even going to say those words. I hate those words of unprecedented times, but
We've heard those words a lot.
so much. But every school day is an unprecedented time because you never had it before and you'll never have it again. So there has to be a sense of urgency in every lesson that we provide for our students, regardless to whether they're in music or whether they're in math. And until that level of urgency is at leadership level, and they're not paying lip service to it, do the best that we can with the tools we have.
Yes. Okay, thank you. How does your school system make certain that accommodations are made for struggling students with special needs, and for students identified as gifted and talented? What steps does your school system take to ensure that the curriculum is appropriate for our increasingly diverse, multicultural school population?
Yeah, that is a very, very good question. And we have a CEO, Monica's been here, 3 years, and recently, also with all of the world unrest, we have been looking at ourselves more in terms of implicit bias and all of those things. That being said, Prince George's County is still 97% African American. So the biases that we see can be even more painful
Mm-hmm.
when someone who looks like me
Mm.
treats me a certain way because I have free and reduced lunch,
Mm-hmm.
or I'm teaching in a Title I school, right? So we have a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
That being said, in terms of our curriculum documents, we have built in all of these extensions, and we have Quaver music, and we have adjunct teachers that come in, and we have teacher residencies where artists will come in and provide additional support and opportunities. And again, that's money based, but to the greatest extent possible. Ring in the Kennedy Center, and they come in and do different things. You can't be this close to DC and not
Right.
take advantage. You know,
Yeah.
many of our teachers have contacts. Our instrumental music supervisor plays for the Temptations, but he's also the captain of the Redskins marching band. So having folks come in also to do assessments. The Lacey, is it Lacey?
Lacey Shepherd.
Shepherd?
Yes.
I think Lacey, but I don't get me. One thing about getting old is name. I see her face, and it might not have been Lacey, but Tamisha's been very good about not only getting people from Alvin Ailey to come into classrooms and work with kids, but also supervisors in nearby counties to adjudicate our dance showcase.
Yeah.
Because they have no skin in the game in terms of these kids, but they can look at them with just these fresh eyes. And so doing, those kinds of things. And it works the other way. We had a teacher in one of our high schools, not a performing arts high school, who said, I've got this student who is autistic, and he loves doing broadcast journalism and interviewing people. And he had started writing different dignitaries. So he got an audience with Governor O'Malley to interview him. Wow. He got an audience. Yeah, just all of these people. So, but the teacher reached out to our office. So we reached out to communications and other folks to provide the supports that this kid needed to be able to navigate getting to Annapolis, not getting freaked out by security, having to, him having to take his stuff off and go through the security gate and putting the wand over him. So we started like 3 months before his interview with O'Malley, just anything and everything his teachers, special ed teachers, his art teachers, anyone could think of that could create some anxiety for him. He was having little mini lessons with that. So that by the time he's in the car going up there, he's like, the governor seemed to be a little bit nervous. He didn't know. He didn't know how to act.
Yeah, he was very, very overly prepared.
He was overly prepared. So that's just one example, but it has to work. It has to work that way. We've had kids we had a kid at Northwestern High School to audition for Hamilton.
Oh, wow. Nice.
Yeah, but it was because his teacher recognized, and she reached out to her connections and got him the audition. So we do the very best we can. Right?
Yes.
And I say that a lot, but it's the truth.
It's true. And what else can you do? Okay, thank you. Okay, so number 8. In what ways does your school system use instructional technology?
A lot. MSDE about 12 years ago now sent out an email, just a little email that said, we will no longer print materials for you.
Oh.
If you want agenda items, they will be attached to your calendar invitation. You print them yourself. And I looked at that and went, okay. They said, within the year, we are going to be fully virtual. So I started with my team because I only have control of the folks that I work with. And I said, MSDE is giving themselves a year. We need to give ourselves this year so that then we are able to be agnostic about technology. And if it's on Microsoft and a PC, fine. If you're on a Mac, which we prefer as artists, fine. If it's on paper and pencil, I take my iPad with my little pen, fine. Whatever way it is, we have to be able to work in that system. And I think because of that, many of our teachers didn't have such a huge jump when we went totally virtual. Because it's been a part of our professional development. It's been a part of our curriculum. There are things. I'm like, if you're giving a child a written assignment, when they go to college, it has to be typed. Why are you taking a handwritten assignment?
Yeah.
Well, because not every child has a computer. Then you, teacher, figure out how to allow that child time at this time to go to the computer lab in your building, go to the computer in the back of your room, take your laptop. I don't care. But if we're preparing them for future you will never see, stop leaning on your level of comfort.
Yeah.
Put that pencil and ink pen in the bottom of your purse and let them leak all over everywhere.
Right.
And it's still a heavy lift for some folks, but I would dare say in 12 years, many of those that was a heavy lift for have retired.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you. Okay, so question number 9. How do you plan, I think some of this, okay, well, the question is, how do you plan for curriculum implementation? What provisions are made for professional development?
We try to plan a year in advance because the budget works that way. We are now in FY21, but in another week, I have to start developing my budget for 2022. So we look back at, let me use an example. I'll go with Quaver Music. Quaver Music is our curriculum for 3rd grade, 5th grade, and 8th grade. The goal is for everybody in terms of general music, but we wanted those because those are capstone years in terms of music instruction. So when we got the approval for 3rd grade, Quaver, it comes with a book and it comes with the curriculum. We needed to look at it, ensure that it matched our standards, our expectations, blah, blah, blah. And then professional development began the year before. And the elementary school teachers were invited out. They had experiences using it. It's on a whiteboard. It's on your overhead, for a whole year. And then the next year, when it was the implementation year, those teachers that were on the curriculum writing team meet regularly with the supervisor. What's working, what's not working, what do you see needs to be tweaked, what do you see needs to be changed or modified. And then at the end of the school year professional development or team meeting, ask all the other teachers, and then kind of compile that, because it's data now, and say, okay, now this year we need to emphasize X in terms of that third grade curriculum, while now showing them the connection between the third grade and the fifth grade curriculum. So it's a scaffolding process that we're supposed to do with our kids. And so, does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
So
okay.
that's what we do.
All right. How do you evaluate the effectiveness of new or revised curriculum documents?
Again, it's the reaching out to our teacher leaders, reaching out to our teachers that we know, honestly, reaching out to the teachers that we know used it, and with fidelity, to get their opinion, and also reaching out to those that we know probably used that book for a doorstop, printed it off the computer, even though it's electronic, and put that book in the corner and say, yo, yeah, I have my curriculum document, and ask them as well.
Right.
And then kind of, again, compile it to determine next steps. Yeah, that's pretty much what we do.
Okay. All right. Number 11, how is input from the community regarding curriculum content, needs, or concerns obtained? And what types of curriculum-related concerns have you expressed? What types of curriculum-related concerns have been expressed by parents and or members of the community in recent years?
Okay. When we are doing a textbook adoption, be it electronic, as most of them are now, it's a committee of teachers, of parents, of community members, of supervisors in other content. So, for example, usually our go-to folks are somebody in RELA or social studies, right? So it's a committee, and they review according to readability, according to multicultural considerations, according to diversity of even pictures in the book, and then they make recommendations. Those recommendations then go forward to our school board with numbers, meaning this one we recommend is our first top, this is how much it costs, and then this is the backup, that kind of thing. So that's where we get, input that way. There are parents that have expressed concerns in various content areas. At one point in another life, I supervised health education and physical education. And so on health education, we had a parent that wanted us to begin using it's got a special name, but he used to be gay, and he started going to church, and they got him out of it. And now he's married and he's got kids, and he wants their curriculum to be a part of the health education document.
Oh, okay.
And it's got a special kind of name, and I forgot it.
Okay.
He brought it again. We pulled together a panel of teachers, of supervisors, of the director of curriculum instruction was in there at the time, community members, various people. He did his presentation. We asked questions back and forth, and then there was a conversation, and there's a rubric, and if whatever this addendum to the curriculum, if it meets the benchmark of the rubric, then it's something that's added. If it doesn't, we write why. It goes to our legal office for review, and sometimes they change or modify the language, and then that gets shared with the person.
Okay. Oh, wow. That's it's a whole process. Wow. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, so we only have a few more questions, so
Fine, I have cleared my whole afternoon.
thank you so much.
Oh no, this is fun. You're asking me to talk? You need to tell me to shut up.
Well, okay, so question number 12. In your opinion, what characterizes a quality or excellent curriculum document? I know you talked about the railroad, which I thought that was a really profound point. But what, in your opinion, characterizes a quality or excellent curriculum document?
One that begins with the end in mind.
Hmm.
And if you have decided that this is a fifth grade dance curriculum, and you have determined that at the end of fifth grade, a dance student needs to have mastery of these skills, exposure to these skills, understanding of certain academic terminology, of the historical concept of genre and how it may have been impacted by what was going on in the world. Whatever that end of the year is, start there.
Mm-hmm.
And so if I open that very first page and that very first lesson, I can say, oh, I can see where you're going with this.
Mm-hmm.
And it provides also opportunities for student agency.
Mm-hmm.
And some folks learn it best by humming it. Some folks learn it best by reading it quietly. Some best by somebody reading it to them. But all kinds of different ways to get to that end.
Mm-hmm.
And the last thing I would think of is circling back to, again, that scaffolding thing, but more like circling back and say, okay, so why do you think we learned first position first? Why didn't we start with fifth position?
Mm-hmm. Right.
You know, and what learning each position means for the next skill that you're going to be able to use. And say, okay, we've got first and second position down. Now let's look at some choreography that primarily uses first and second position. Raise your hand when you stand up if you see first position. Raise your hand if you see whatever it is. Now you got an assessment.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're ready for third position. You see? So yeah, has to have those kind of things. I think one of the questions were people that I admire, and I think Sir Ken Robinson said it best. It's on three fronts. It fosters diversity, promotes curiosity, and awakens creativity.
I love
That's good instruction. That's good curriculum, because you got to have that to get there.
Yeah, especially the last part, the last one you said about awakening creativity.
Awakening creativity.
See, that for me, this is not one of the questions, but that for me is something that I always strive to do, awaken my students' creativity. I don't know. I guess I feel like I'm incredibly passionate about dance. I was one of those kids who, like, when I was in school, you know, when I was like outside of college, when I was doing like my conservatory, when I was actually at Alvin Ailey. I know you mentioned Alvin Ailey.
Mm-hmm.
We had 5 dance classes a day, and we had 2 hours of rehearsal. And then, you know, at one point my advisor wanted me to take 2 ballet classes. I loved it. Every moment, I never missed any of it. So I try to bring that, like, I just really love what I'm doing. But I don't know. It's hard when I feel like I'm teaching kids who don't love dance. So it's like, as arts teachers and as arts curriculum, how can we write? I mean, I know I do try to tap into what's relevant for them today. What are they listening to? And I have found that a lot of the dance styles that they do, it's really hard. Like their dance, when I'm trying to teach them some like a West African traditional dance in the classroom, and they're struggling with it, and they're like, I hate this. This is so hard. I don't like this. But then when I see them doing like their TikTok dances or their popular dance moves, and I have them teach me, I have them show me, break that down for me, and I tell them, you know what? You think that you don't understand isolated movement, and you think you don't understand multi-rhythm
Mm-hmm.
or polyrhythm, like many like different counts.
Yep.
But yes, you do. This, what you're doing it in this TikTok dance. This is exactly what you're doing. So, but I guess I feel like, I can't spend my whole year doing TikTok dances.
Right.
So I guess it's one of my challenges
it's about
is
remembering that you don't teach dance. You've never ever taught dance. You teach John. And if John is coming to school hungry, John could care less about dance. If John reads on a second grade level and he thinks everyone in his class feels he's stupid, he's not going to take the chance on doing something and have it be confirmed in front of the world. So knowing who your kids are, teach them what they need to know through dance.
That would be confidence for a lot of my kids. I think confidence, a lot of my students are not confident within themselves.
Yep.
So
you begin with success guaranteed activities. For some kids, that's, can you clap on the 2 and 4 beat? That's not even move, that's clap.
I love that. I'm retaining that. Start with guaranteed success. And I had to tell you, yes. I mean, I come at it with, this is what I love, and you're gonna love this too. So but I'm not necessarily thinking that way. What can I give them where they know they're going to be successful? That's going to boost their confidence. Okay.
Right.
Yes.
And the other end, opposite bookend of success guaranteed activities are, you can't tell me you hate terms if you've never tasted them. You can't tell me you hate opera if you've never been to one. So we're going to do this 2-week opera unit. We're going to sing it. We're going to watch it. We're going to talk about it. We're going to learn the history. We're going to do all that. And at the end, we're going to go to one. And then you're going to tell me, Ms. Lambert, I hate opera. And I'll say, why? And you use the academic vocabulary, and I'm good with it. We put it on the shelf.
But if you hate it, you better be ready to back it up.
Tell me why. And it's not because it's just some fat white lady singing.
Right.
That very well may be true. How? Some of us. There's some really bomb fat white ladies out there singing. So what about this one you don't like?
Right.
Is it the language? Is it the right? So those are kind of the bookends, I guess, of curriculum. Kind of frame it.
Okay, thank you for that. Lots of gems. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so what advice do you have for individuals who would like to become involved with curriculum development, such as myself?
Right.
Okay.
In as many different styles, ways that you can think of. Take a random standard and write 3 lessons for it. One
Okay.
from a special needs standpoint, one from a ESOL standpoint, which is
Mm-hmm.
totally different. That kid that's ESOL could be special needs and could be TAG, right?
Yeah.
Write a comprehensive, write a, this is a performing arts school. And with the components, every lesson has successful components. They have a introduction, they have a warm-up, they have the directed teacher activity, but within that there's so much latitude. And then put that away and come back to it at another time. And you might find, I taught this lesson to those kids and that part of this didn't work. Why? And then you're doing all of those things with your own work. It's real easy. Well, no, I shouldn't put it that way. It's especially difficult in these days to lesson plan and then reflect on it.
Yeah.
And then come back to it. So perhaps doing your day-to-day is separate from your goal, which is to actually do curriculum writing.
Okay.
When you feel you're ready, or even before you feel you're ready, put yourself out there and call, Miss Richardson's on maternity leave right now. When she comes back in January, send her a nice little email and say, I'm working on this and this is something I'm interested in. And, can we do a professional development? Can we have a conversation? Can we get your business cards ready? Or talk to your colleagues right there in Anne Arundel County and say, let's start a blog of I'm having difficulty teaching this concept. What do you recommend?
Yeah.
And there you go.
Okay.
Just do it.
Yeah.
Just do it.
Thank you.
Well,
Okay. So, how do you determine, number 14. How do you and your team determine what needs to be included? Oh, I was thinking about this. How do you determine what needs to be included and excluded from the curriculum for the fine arts?
Well, that's more loaded than any of the other questions because every content has basic elements. Whatever they are, visual art, that's color and that's line and that's whatever you have your basic elements. So in terms of a curriculum, your curriculum must address the basic elements through the standards at the level that the kids are supposed to be at. So that's what's included.
Yeah.
How you get there, I think, is depending on your community or depending on your students or depending on if you just had to slosh through a dirt road to get to school. You might do a lot of Rain, Rain, Go Away songs over there.
Right.
I tend to be a both and person. And if it's at all possible or probable, it's going to show up in some kind of way. Now, writing a curriculum document would be, the never-ending story if you try to include everything and not exclude. But I don't think you started off that way. You started off from, again, beginning with the end in mind. What are those basic elements that must be included? What are those genres and concepts and all of those kind of things? And then if it's something that should be there and it's not, the kids will tell you.
Hmm.
They'll show you. Can I tell you a funny story?
Yeah.
I was second year elementary music teacher in this school in Montgomery County, where mom was dropping the kids off in a Mercedes and a fur coat, but the kid was coming to school with no socks on in the winter.
Hmm.
Okay, that kind of school. So I want to do this dance, and I was all excited. And we're standing in a circle, and I said, "Okay, we're gonna take 8 steps clockwise."
Mm-hmm.
And they stood there and they looked at me. Now, mind you, on my nice lesson plan, it had, it's 8 steps clockwise, 8 steps counterclockwise, reverse. So I had all the steps. So I had memorized it. And they stood there, looked at me. I said, "Come on, you guys, 8 steps clockwise." And finally, one very bold young man said, "Listen, Amber, what you talk about? Our clocks do like this." Digital clocks had come out.
Right.
And they had no idea what a second hand was. Going around
Wow.
the clock. You're absolutely right, boo. Let me help you.
Right, right.
We just backed it on up, and I made a game. And you 12 o'clock, and you 6 o'clock, and yeah. We never did get to the dance that day.
Right.
But we had a ball, and I said thank you to him. I would have had. That's why teachers need students. That's exactly what I said to him. Say a lot. That's why we need students. And thank you for being brave enough
Mm-hmm.
to share that with me.
Yeah, because he taught you what you needed to teach in order
Exactly.
to teach what you wanted to teach.
Exactly. Right?
Yeah.
I had excluded a whole body of knowledge because I assumed they had it.
Yeah.
Yep.
That is a good story.
True
Um,
story.
okay, so question number 15, there are 2 more.
Okay.
What are some professional, I think you kind of touched on this, but what are some professional development opportunities for fine art teachers interested in just curriculum development and implementation?
Well, in our county, like I said, teachers do a lot of it because we don't have, 30 reading recovery teachers to write elementary curriculum, right?
Mm-hmm.
So teachers get a lot of experience. If they, it happens both ways. We have supervisors that reach out to certain teachers because they have seen the quality of their work in the classroom, but then the quality of their lessons and how they plan and all that kind of thing. So for us, that's primarily the way. And if you could think of another way, a better way, send me email. Yeah.
Okay.
No, I'm serious. I don't mean that facetiously. I'm very serious because, again, I'm a both and person. Why I refuse. The world would be an awful place if everybody was like me.
Yeah.
I mean,
Diversity.
horrible. So, if you have an idea, I'm very serious. And it may be something that we just haven't thought about doing.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, I will.
Okay.
Thank you. Yes, I will.
Okay.
Okay, and then finally, this is more personal. I was just wondering, just with how do you find, what are your favorite resources that you go to for inspiration, both professionally and personally? What keeps you going? What different things that keep you inspired to do the work, to take care of yourself? So I just put some examples like books, blogs, podcasts, songs, just anything.
Um, my faith,
Mm-hmm.
my family, and my music, probably in that order. I spend time in prayer and meditation daily throughout the day.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it's, Lord, keep me from slapping him or biting my tongue most of the time.
That's very honest.
Or even, especially with these cameras, some meetings I have to think, okay, nah, my face can't be on this camera. They need to see this little Zoom picture because I'm going to be making some ugly faces when this works off. Knowing yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
I have been blessed to be mentored to be my family's matriarch.
Oh, nice.
I've known it probably since the age of 5.
Mm-hmm.
So now that I'm in that role, I have nieces and nephews that call me Nana. So giving back, paying it forward and giving it back. And music feeds my soul. I started playing piano when I was 4. I started teaching piano when I was 10.
Oh, okay.
So I'll start humming something. I usually wake up with a song, something in my spirit, and depending on that song, I'm like, oh, okay, Lord, you try to prepare me for something today. You try to prepare me with this one.
Yeah.
and it in some way plays out all throughout the day. So there's that on the personal side. On the professional side, I'm surrounded by marvelous colleagues who I'm just so proud to serve them, that especially now I find myself just reaching, how are you doing? You need anything? All my goals, we have to do this goal setting every year. All my goals are based on what I hear my supervisors say their goals are.
Yeah.
Because if I'm not helping them to achieve their goals, I'm not doing my job. So going back to them, making sure everybody's okay. And in terms of taking care of myself, I guess that's the way that I take care of myself. And I also listen to them. So those, you heard me say, are we walking today?
Yeah.
Because before the pandemic, I had made a promise. I'm diabetic, 16-year cancer survivor.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, God is good. I was going to the gym every day. And even if it was only 20 minutes on that treadmill, every day I was doing something, right? Exercise-wise.
Nice.
Pandemic hit. My doctor said, you can't even really go to the door and answer the door. I don't want you out there. So getting back into I needed some accountability partners. So my sister said, okay, we're going to walk every day.
Wonderful.
That's what. Yep.
Okay.
And John, so in terms of blogs and as you can tell, I'm a talker. So I love to read, but I'm more, this is more kind of feeding myself. But John Sophia wrote a book in 1979 called The Skillful Teacher. And what he did then was survey thousands of parents and thousands of students and based through the survey determined like the top 10% that both students and parents thought were skillful, and then got permission to set up video cameras in the back of their classrooms for a whole year, and then analyzed everything that they saw and came up with behavioral management is not just token economy. It's some 50 different things you can do, from the look, right? Proximity. I mean, so it goes through all of that. And Fairfax County used it to as their teacher evaluation tool. So it wasn't about punitive. It was about, I saw you use 12 out of these 30 strategies for behavioral management, but they're all on this part of the continuum, the more restrictive ones. What might you try to use the more formative ones, the more relational ones? And so I have been following George Safir's work since 1979.
Okay.
He's on his 7th edition of this.
Oh, wow. I'm going to have to check that out.
Yes, Jon, John, Saphier.
Okay. Thank you so much.
I run my mouth so much.
Oh no, this has been great. I imagine that you have a lot on your plate. There are like over, how many schools in Prince George's? Like over 200 schools. Yep. So I'm grateful that you carved out time to talk to me, to share your wealth of knowledge. I appreciate it a lot. Thank you so much.
More than welcome. And you've got my email. That doesn't have to be a formal thing. If you got a question or a thought, or seriously, just feel free to contact me anytime.
Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
You're more than welcome. Good luck to you. Let me know how I can help.
Okay, thank you. Have a good evening. Enjoy your walk.
I will, and have a wonderful weekend.
Thanks, you too.
Bye-bye.
Okay, bye.